Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Now we get on.
All right, we are on Mr. Sokolowski, and he's already on. He's contrarian. He called the letter writer bitch. Did you say that?
No, I said, well, maybe I did.
Are you thin-skinned?
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm not thin-skinned.
Okay. Well, what did this is, because this is an email I got from Paul yesterday, and I wanted to share it with you since you're mentioned.
I'm mentioned, yes.
And here we go.
Disparaging lies.
Lynn, it says, I have noticed that in almost every video and when Tom is on, you and he sometimes swig Diet Coke and end up coughing and hacking. Tom,
well, I must correct him. I drink Diet Pepsi.
I drink the Coke.
Yes, right. So.
Okay. Tom seems to belch more often and almost asphyxiates himself. I think that's funny.
Well, Dr. Paul, thank you very much. No, I'm not, really.
Please, says Paul, try drinking water only. And you may not have these reactions. Well, here, I want to say that, yes, water would be preferable for both of us for our throats than this stuff. It is true.
I think he probably has shares in Dasani water. But anyway.
Actually, yeah, this isn't helping anything. But both Tom and I, if you took this stuff away from us, we'd still hack and cough.
That's true.
We do. We both have like postnasal drip. It has nothing whatsoever to do with this.
Coca-Cola.
And in fact, I am under doctor's care in regard to all this.
He prescribes.
Oh God, I shoot stuff up my nose.
No, I was going to say, does he prescribe
No.
Diet Coke?
I mean, believe me, I have issues in this area.
I see. All right.
Yes, and I don't know.
Anyway, but the reason she read that to be conclusive, but there's a second paragraph was the one I was really taking exception to.
And that's correct. And the second one is, I too heard about Peduto's scaffolding request. For those who didn't, when Peduto was at the White House the other day with newly elected mayors, he did say to the president, hey, you know that scaffolding that's around the Washington Monument that got damaged during the earthquake there? Yes. And apparently it's finally been fixed and they're taking it down. Peduto said, Mr. President, I would just love it if you would give us the scaffolding and we'll put it up on our North Shore where this wonderful bike trail starts and ends in Washington. So you could have the Washington Monument and the Washington Monument. And the scaffolding has lights on it, and it is that beautiful shape, and it would be tall and wondrous structure. The scaffolding, I believe, was designed by Michael Graves.
Well, to-do.
Well, he's
why
a
would we?
noted
Yes, of course he is.
Architect
why,
and designer.
However? Now,
so this one thinks it's bull.
Yes. Number one, Bill Peduto once told me that he said, I will always thank you for being the person who didn't allow, but I caused a fracas.
I know, the pirate ship.
Well, I would put this in the same category.
I squawked about it, too. What makes you think you?
He told me this. I'm not saying that.
He told you because you had
Well, I wrote about it in the papers, but
and
never...
And I used your letter in my...
Well, good, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But, I mean, he said, I'm not taking the credit.
This, by the way, was when PNC Park was being built. The Pirates had a great idea to build...
Soi-disant. self-said. I mean, like they themselves thought it was a great idea.
Yes. And
no one else
to
did.
have a pirate ship,
Plastic pirate ship
moored to the,
Yes.
in the river. And I guess people.
And they would sell probably the rights to it to Long John Silver's fish
who
fry
knows? Yeah.
restaurant.
You could have a restaurant in there. You could do all this stuff.
Oh.
Well, Sokolowski, then the illustrious head of the Warhol Museum and the go-to guy for all things arty in town, wrote a scathing letter.
Yes.
Op-ed piece, or was it a letter?
Op-ed,
I think it was an op-ed piece.
or whatever.
About how.
And I called it the
tacky.
good ship lollipop from hell. Anyway, but Bill said,
thank you. You helped scuttle that.
Well, the
Right.
thing that annoys me about this is, number one, that scaffolding was made site-specific by a noted architect, and I hadn't known that, for the Washington Monument, which is a known national monument in Washington, D.C. It served a purpose. It wasn't just put up to be
I understand.
an incrustation. It
So
was for a
what?
purpose. And the lights were put on because of the holidays, whatever. But why do we want someone else's monument in our city? I mean, if Mr. Perduto wants, and I'll help him, a piece of art to commemorate the beginnings of the trail, Americana, blah, blah, blah. Fine, but why take someone else's, used Chevy?
Well, here's why. Because it's beautiful in and of itself. It's fascinating looking. And when they started taking the scaffolding down, there was a bit of a hue and cry on the part of some who say the
Well, it was
Washington
glitzier.
Monument looks better with the
Oh, well,
scaffolding.
lovely. So why don't we take every obelisk, because that's basically what it is,
Yes.
in the world and cover it with fairy lights, because that's basically what it is.
All right, never mind.
I just think if we're talking about utilizing
But it isn't.
art,
I think it's pretty. It would be pretty.
Yeah,
and
but
it would be
it's- yeah, but-
strange and
no,
weird.
it wouldn't be strange. It would be
What-
someone else's
How tall
sloppy
is that? It would be.
seconds.
We could see it from here. Oh, sloppy seconds.
It would be.
What a.
No, it's
what
not.
does that mean,
Why don't
sloppy
we have?
seconds?
Because it was built
You're
for a
against him.
specific purpose for the Washington
So
Monument.
what?
So why don't we get a second version of the Statue of Liberty and put it at the point? That would be cool. Wouldn't it? It would be the same thing. It would be and painted black and gold for Pittsburgh. It would be the same thing, my dear.
Well, we are not going to have a meeting of the minds. I can see that.
One mind.
And anyway, it ain't going to happen apparently,
Well, good.
because for a lot of
Good.
reasons. For one thing, somebody doing research, I think it might have been PJ, said that of course the scaffolding was built specifically for that site, but in fact had been used before in 2000 and something, and they need that scaffolding.
Well, because they
Because
tuck pointed it
something
or
might
something.
happen, and
Right.
they need to put it back
Well,
up
why don't
again.
we put fairy lights on the PNC Bank thing that's going up? There's scaffolding all over it, and it has nice rounded corners. It could refer to Santa's belly. I mean,
Santa.
bad idea. Bad idea.
Okay. All right. But
It's like when you hear one of these pop singers singing a Christmas carol, like, "Oh, holy night." It's like a bad cover. That's what that scaffolding is, a bad cover of a famous, well-designed monument.
so that's what
We
they.
don't need Mariah Carey to sing "Oh, Holy Night" or anything else, if you ask me.
Jeez.
Oh, Jess, I've never seen such a... In 3 years, I haven't seen such a response.
So, Jess, I was out to dinner last night with some folks, and one of whom said to me, "I just love when Jess laughs."
Well, see, we should... Yes, it's such a girly, pure, fresh...
Yeah, there's something very
the
soprano
laugh
and,
of an
and crystal
ingenue
about
in her
Yes.
bloom.
And there's such a wonderful juxtaposition of that with the hacking, asphyxiating,
Decrepitude.
belching, and coughing coming from the old farts also in the
Oh,
room.
yes, of course.
All right.
We're the memento
I mean-
mori, and she is the la vita continua.
Listen.
Yeah, what?
We're the what? Mori means dead.
Memento mori.
What does that mean? Dead,
memento mori means like, man, you are dust,
dead
and
souvenir.
Dust you shall return. Well, that's what it means literally.
Mori.
No, but it's literally the Latin for man, thou art dust, and dust you shall return. Like, thou art mortal.
Well,
thou art mortal.
Okay, and then what was the
Well, I
thing
said
you
la vita continues, like life continues. Youth. The future. And we be the past.
Gotcha. Well, no argument there. I'm glad we finally agree on something.
But you must build on the past to have a glorious future. Oh, God, we're really going on. This should be New Year's Eve. And Father Christmas, Father Time coming with his scythe to chop our heads off.
Oh. I feel like I've lost control of the show, and I haven't even said hello. No, I know. Hello, by the way. We didn't say hello. We just started up. It's, my gosh, the 19th of December. That's what it is.
Yes.
We're almost at 2014.
Oh, we're less than a week from Christmas.
Whoop-de-doo.
And we're going to go out there now?
Oh, gosh. And what? And it's a beautiful sunny day.
Yeah, it is. Right.
And it's warming
Lovely
up.
winter day. Yeah, it's going to get to be 63 or something.
It's too warm.
Yeah, it is too warm.
Too warm. Something's weird. Okay, so anything in particular on your mind? Because then
I was going to say it's too many people drinking Coke all over the world, and that's what's hurting the ozone layer. And bringing about
that's right, because they're all belching. And,
well, to be totally... Isn't that Freudian? No, I was going to say, but probably, to be totally true, and we know this already,
what?
It's Diet Coke and the plastic bottles that the fish are swallowing and dying and everything. I mean, it is all these man-made pollutants. Well, they turn into be pollutants. They're not intended to be pollutants. But, how many...
Did you see that article about...
What?
These little teeny-weeny, like about the size of a period on a newsprint page, that size. Little plasticky things. And they are in a lot of products that we use. If you ever, they're in shampoos, they're in soaps.
When you want like a bracelet.
They're in a,
yes.
They give the gritty, they can be in toothpaste. Who the hell knows? But they are there in such quantity, and they are being flushed into our water
system. And they're probably
system.
so small that they're not destroyed
fish are, they look like fish food to the fish. Fish are eating them left and right. And they're getting concerned.
Very constipated fish.
Yeah, they're actually getting concerned about the proliferation of this stuff in the Great Lakes.
Wow.
And there was a story that was about Lake Erie and how it's just...
Wow. Well, they've long said, too, you know how when bottles of soda or water or whatever have that sort of plastic bracelet that holds them together?
Yeah.
Well, those they find... dolphins they found where they basically were cutting off... Yeah,
I was throwing one of those out just 2 days ago. From an 8-pack of that. And my son said... Yes. Oh, no, he said, cut that up because it'll kill... I think he was being sarcastic,
But it's true.
Well, I know it's true, and I did cut it up.
Good. Well, you know what? I think this is what you should do. You should save them and make a sculpture out of them and put fairy lights, and that can be... And we'll send it to Mr. Peduto.
You say Peduto funny, Lee.
Why? Peduto, what is he?
Oh, you said Peduto.
Well, he's an Italian name.
I know, but what does it mean? Do you know if that means something?
I don't know. Perduto means lost, but not Peduto. Well, yeah, it basically means sort of lost. Perdere means to be, it's ended.
All right. You know what? I'm going to take a break now. It's a little teeny-weeny early.
But not
much. Let's take a break, and then we'll start and figure out if there's anything. Yeah, well, not necessarily, but see if there's something that we actually want to sink our...
Chew into.
That's right, sink our incisors into. In a minute.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Check out the all-new BergBargains.com for the best deals on holiday gift cards from your favorite local restaurants, bars, museums, and shows. Log on now for great deals for Atria's, Fair Day, Jerome Bettis Grill, and Quantum Theater. Supplies are limited. The all-new BergBargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. BergBargains.com.
Just in time for the holidays, Little's Shoes is your UGG headquarters. Little's has the largest selection of UGGs for men, women, and children to stay warm with shearling-lined boots, shoes, and slippers. Don't forget to get your hats, gloves, scarves, and more. Bring the entire family to view one of the largest in-store UGG shops in the U.S. All available at Little Shoes, Pittsburgh's largest family shoe store. Forbes Avenue in Squirrel Hill or littleshoes.com.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
And it turned out they were really like 14, you know.
All right, we have returned. So, we wanted to talk about something of substance.
Of substance, yes.
Well, you know, this time of year, things just start winding down.
That's
winding down, and I don't want to talk about financial, like the Fed. I don't want to talk.
Yes.
I don't want to talk about the NSA. I don't want to talk about any of that stuff.
So give us your recipe for a Christmas pudding. Although you don't make Christmas pudding.
No,
do
I
you?
certainly don't.
Yes, okay.
What is a Christmas pudding? Is that like a fruit cake?
Well, sort of, but it's steamed.
Oh, God.
It isn't.
Something
I must
awful.
admit, a couple of times I've spent Christmas in Britain over my life.
Because this is English, right? They don't know how to
it's
cook.
original.
I'm sorry. That's just horrible.
Well, you know, because actually, if you really get a traditional one, it has like a lot of suet in it. Suet, and they often call it figgy pudding because, you know, whereas we, because of American tradition, you don't have those cut up painted fruits that you buy for fruitcake. They're not really real. They just put like figs and really wonderful stuff, but then suet, and then you steam it and serve it with a kind of cream dressing on it.
And you're saying it's not necessary.
Well, I've had a few stinkos. One or two that were nice, but...
I once did an entire show on fruitcake, but you can't,
really?
You can do that because some people, it is amazing. There are people out there who eat them.
Well, when it's delicious,
I don't know
it's
anyone
delicious.
who eats them. What do you mean it's delicious?
Oh,
it's
well,
a culinary
I make
joke.
No.
You make fruit
I
cakes.
haven't in a while, but, well, if you make it and it's preponderantly fruit as opposed to, you know, bready, then it's really delicious. But most fruit cakes...
It's too dense.
Well, that's how it's meant
like
to be.
a bowling ball dense. It's
No, not when it's a good one. No, I beg to differ. And all of you cooks out there, please let us know and send Lynn, and we'll force her to cook 25 variations, and then we'll have a cook-off or whatever.
Well, it's like that
throwdown.
It's like that. I found out recently. I don't know if I mentioned this on the air that matzo balls.
Yes.
Did we talk about this?
No.
Matzo balls, because there's this new restaurant. Bills
which is quite nice.
Bills
Have you
itself
been
as a
there?
Jewish deli.
No.
New.
It's nice. No. So no. So
anyway, I went in there,
It's
and
nice,
and
yeah.
they're matzo balls.
I didn't have the matzo.
Well, they're what I guess Jews refer to as sinkers.
Oh, or Stein in the boyan. A stone in the stomach. Yeah.
So
Sinkers, right.
people, Jews can get into some serious arguments about matzo balls, whether they should be sinkers or floaters.
Oh, yes, and fluffy.
And it depends on, what your grandmother made is what you're used to.
Exactly.
Now, personally, me, I'm a floater.
Yeah, I would agree with the floater.
There's a floater. And those can be humongous. Floaters can be these huge, wondrous
Well, it's about the
things.
density of what else. So
That's
it's
right,
not
it's
like a
about
lot
density.
of meal, but matzah meal, but then there's egg and whatever else you
Right.
put into it that makes it just light.
Right. But just so you know, if you go to this new restaurant, Nu, it's called NU, Nu, which is a Yiddish term meaning, Nu. And you order matzo balls, they're going to be sinkers.
And they have lovely
But wonderful chicken soup.
chicken liver pate. I had that. That was divine. It was really good.
And you know what they do? They do, talking about suet, they have like a BLT, but because it's a Jewish thing, they don't have bacon.
Right.
So in lieu of bacon, they take chicken skin. Oh my!
Oh, and they
make like essentially sort of burn it and make it.
Well,
it's
sort of
called,
like
I think it's called crackling.
Well, crackling, like in terms of Southern cooking, but also in terms of what the hell they call it in Mexican cooking. Oh,
I don't know. But so anyway, you can take this crackling chicken skinny stuff, stick it in that BLT.
The fryer. Well,
and it does. It tastes.
And do they use schmaltz on it too?
Yeah, a lot of schmaltz. So and that's fat.
Yeah, pure chicken fat.
Well, you were just talking about suet like it was something terrible. That's fat.
Yeah, but but that's usually not chicken fat.
That's usually pig fat.
Yeah, and it's not quite as light as schmaltz is. I remember once going to, I think we talked about this restaurant in New York called, on the Lower East Side. And you can eat there once every 20 years because it just destroys your cholesterol. But they would bring every dish, and then before you could say no, they had like one of those, standard containers in restaurants for pancake syrup, and they put schmaltz all over your. There's a
Christmas pudding.
Oh yes, with the
and they put a coin in it somewhere,
so you can break your tooth.
Yeah. So that's good luck if you're the one who gets the coin.
Well, or what originally what it was before the coin was it would be a little plaster or porcelain baby Jesus, so you could chew on baby Jesus.
So we were talking about vitamin D the other day, and they're all saying like blah 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 and this and that. I got a great email from one of our listeners. I have the smartest listeners in the universe.
You do, right? And a few nuts, but mostly.
Well, but even the nuts are smart too.
That's true. Okay.
That's right. It's just generally a smart audience. So I was saying they were saying how vitamin supplements, forget about it, blah, blah, blah. And I was saying, but I have a doctor who insists that everybody in Pittsburgh should be taking vitamin D.
Oh, really?
Because unlike what we see outside the window today, there's not enough sun here. And vitamin D is what you get from the sun.
Right, you get from the sun, right.
So, anyway.
It's very dangerous, though, because you can have real bad reactions to excesses of vitamin D.
So, anyway, Joshua said, I was listening to your show on podcast today through Stitcher, and then he says you might want to publicize this, hint, hint, Stitcher.
Never heard of it.
Well, and heard you mention the recent studies regarding the ineffectiveness. And then he says, while it's true that most vitamins and minerals can be obtained through a balanced diet, vitamin D is difficult to obtain through diet enough.
Buy a sun lamp.
Because you can get it in fish from drinking milk that's been infused with it. They say. Yeah, right. And sunshine, whatever. He goes on to say, studies over the past 30 years have shown the person who has a low vitamin D is at increased risk for cancers and prostate cancer especially. Right. So he says, continue to take those vitamin D supplements, especially in the form of vitamin D3. I would not take vitamin D2 as it is less effective. And then he signs it. Joshua, I won't give his last name, PhD, and parenthetically, yes, I just defended my thesis in vitamin D research in prostate cancer at Pitt.
So he's an expert.
So he's a new PhD in that.
Right.
So
great.
That's what I'm telling you. It's a smart audience.
Well, I think that the issue is, I think a lot of the bits I read in the various papers, and I saw something on the Today Show, which was useless, but except that, what's his name, Matt Lauer told us he liked chewables every morning with his kids. But some of these things are very specific, and you really do need to have a doctor to tell you. Yeah, because I had some blood work done a while ago, and my doctor told me to start taking a vitamin B12 pill. And then she even said, if you're not going to get enough, we might continue to give you a shot every month. I have a friend who does that.
A B12?
Yeah. So,
we're all works in progress in that regard.
Well, right,
we all need different fixes. It's like, going to the,
But the question might be, like I know my friend he has a very strange diet. So I'm not surprised in his case, and mine isn't as balanced as it could be. So I think, what most of the things I read was if you really are very good with, as the British would say, two veg, with every meal and whatever, and things that have lots of protein and things that have lots of roughage and some milk and all that, maybe you wouldn't need so much, pace to the vitamin D expert here.
All right. Have we started talking about anything yet?
No, vitamin D, that's serious.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But so I thought the story on the front page of the paper today that I liked, the PG, was, it just blew my mind, involves the ACLU case against the Commonwealth, or against the various people in the Commonwealth that are responsible for, I'm not even sure exactly who specifically is being sued, but I think it is the Commonwealth. And this has to do with the state's DOMA. Essentially, it's if the ACLU wins this case, gays in Pennsylvania will be able to marry, is what it comes down to. So, how before a case, this is in federal court, and before a case, the guys from both sides get together and they do what's called discovery, right? We give you all our information, you give us all your information, so we all are dealing with the same set of facts. Well,
we'll get snookered in the middle of the case when we say, we have new evidence, Your Honor.
Right.
And the other side doesn't have a chance to build up its response.
Well, so it turns out, and of course now I can't find part of it. Thank you. Good man. The state has asked the ACLU, and in the personage of Vic Walczyk, that among the items they need, and they have requested that in discovery the ACLU gives them, are, understand that the plaintiffs in the case, the people who are bringing the case, are, I think there's about 13 people, 12...
same-sex couples?
6 same-sex couples, and 1 widow.
Oh, I see.
Whatever.
Union.
Yeah, okay. So among the items requested by the state are any documents showing the natural parents of both biological and adoptive children. Some of these couples have children. So the state wants to know where you got those kids. I mean, did you adopt them? Was somebody inseminated? So they want to know origins. That would include identifying sperm donors. Whether they also want to know whether any of these 13 plaintiffs were involved ever in their past in heterosexual relationships. And if so, the details of those relationships.
What does that mean?
You tell me.
How many times?
Then I don't know. And then they want detailed information dating back 10 years for any other person with whom the plaintiffs resided ever. And they want the identification of, quote, any and all health care providers from whom the plaintiffs has sought or received medical or psychological treatment. Now, I got to tell you, this is mind-blowing. Yeah. And Walczyk said, what? This has nothing whatsoever.
Vic Walczyk is
the attorney for the ACLU.
For the ACLU,
And a hell of an attorney.
Yeah,
he says this is so unbelievably unnecessary and invasive.
Yeah.
And the reporter who did the story did talk to some experts in the field, law professors, who are specialists in sexual orientation and law. And he says that this is really, obviously, none of their business. Are they really going to put someone's sexual orientation on trial? I mean, it's not unheard of for someone to have been in a heterosexual relationship and then come out of the closet.
Right.
Good heavens. I once, when I started knowing lesbians, because I didn't know if I knew lesbians in my
normal life.
childhood life.
When you go into a bus, you didn't have your gaydar saying, lesbian, third aisle.
I didn't even think about that. I'm talking, So when I began to have lesbian friends, and I'm able to ask questions, because sometimes there are questions which arise. Mm-hmm. And I was stunned initially, I'm not anymore, at how many lesbians have, in fact, been married or had heterosexual sex. Yeah, sure. In fact, my sense is that most of them, by far, have had heterosexual sex. And I mean, I've got...
Well, think about it.
Well, sure, because they grew up, and they're dealing with whatever, and they know they're supposed to like boys.
They were dealing with a society that even today, the norm...
Right.
Or like the preponderance. Well, let's not say the norm. The preponderance is heterosexual. And even if you don't have a bad experience or punitive parents or go to monstrous religious schools of one stripe or another, everything you see is supportive of heterosexual union. And of course, heterosexual union produces issue, and there's a propagation of the races and of the species, and of course, biblical and other kinds of treatises. But, and also especially for women, I mean, where you saw the beginnings, even when it was persecuted terribly, it usually was in the case of men on men, not so much women on women.
That's true, because somehow women on women, heterosexuals get off on.
That, and it wasn't...
They're disgusted by... The straight world is... The reaction to men having sex is revulsion or disgust.
Right, because...
The reaction to women having sex is hot.
Women, yeah, exactly. So anyway, so it's not surprising that women often have had heterosexual pasts.
Right, and I've talked to lesbians who said, yeah, I had a boyfriend for years and years in college, and boys, and whatever. And it's not like even the sex was horrible to them, but it just wasn't what they...
Sure.
Wasn't what they were looking for and wanted and needed. It wasn't where they're... Not it. So what in the name of God is the Commonwealth, this attorney thinking?
Well, when we have a moron as governor, what can you expect? Although, what did he just...
Well, he just came out...
about persecution in the job force.
Well, no, because Pennsylvania does not have a law banning discrimination against gays in employment and all that other stuff. Gays are not a protected class in our anti-discrimination law. And
put them on the assembly line, but keep them out of the bedroom.
And Frankel, Senator, and he's not senator, he's Representative Frankel from Squirrel Hill, has authored a bill which has a number of sponsors that will remedy that. And astonishingly, yes, our governor has come out in favor of that bill. And he actually said, I didn't realize that gays were not. And I'm thinking, hell, buddy, he was the friggin' attorney general.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, then he says, I'm against discrimination.
Right.
Well, if he's against discrimination, why is he for the Defense of Marriage Act, which is on its face discriminatory?
Right.
So now so quite clearly, his getting behind the anti-discrimination measure is just positioning himself for his election, re-election perhaps, because the polls show that 70% of even Pennsylvanians are for gays being protected in that way.
Well, it's interesting, following up on some gay issues. Did you see, I thought it was very interesting that they announced that for the official delegation, the American delegation to the Olympics, that the president, nor I guess Vice President Biden, will not attend officially, but that he has put together and has asked part of this official delegation to include a number of gay
openly gay athletes, which is like saying to Putin, here, we're sending our delegation, we're not sending any high...
And they're all going to wear pink and purple.
Yes.
And boas.
Yes.
Yes.
And when they march, when our delegation march into the for the opening ceremonies, they're gonna.
We all don't swish, Lynn Cullen.
No.
Thank you very much. Haven't you heard of Butch? Both for men and women.
Yeah.
You know what they should have? I always remember in New York and elsewhere too, that generally when they have the gay pride parades, it's been a tradition. I think it started in San Francisco or New York maybe, that there's a kind of cavalcade at the beginning of the parade.
Yeah.
These very large women called dykes on bikes.
Yes,
Often
dykes on bikes. They're still, yeah.
And I think that would be great if the dykes on bikes went through the Sochi. But the thing is, there's supposedly going to be no snow in Sochi. And
they're a little
they're
concerned.
shipping in
right.
snow from how you ship snow. I'd love to know.
Say ship snow 5 times fast. Ship snow.
Ship snow.
Come on, 5.
Ship snow, ship snow, ship snow.
Can't
That's
do
like
it, can
saying
you?
Pittsburgh.
Ship snow, ship snow, ship snow, ship snow, ship snow. I did it!
But it was slow.
Yep.
But it's interesting. Well, they along with this article, and this was just sort of rhetorical, but what is going to be the effect if people wear, rainbow pins or something like that?
Oh, they all should definitely do that.
Well,
kind
but the
of thing
question
anyway.
is, would that be considered? Because according to the law, that any kind of
Political display
or of insignia or something or other is verboten.
Well, I think Billie Jean King, who's one of the openly gay athletes,
for many years.
I think she said that it seems like Sochi would be a good place for what she called a Juan Carlos moment. And Juan Carlos was one of the American track stars
when the King of Spain.
When the Olympics were held in Mexico City in the 68.
Oh, was that when they made the fist? Oh, yes.
Made the fist. And so she's saying that's the kind of, we need to do that. So.
Although, right, that's true.
Okay. Hey, here, Jared Day was on yesterday, and I've gotten a response to something he said and by Joshua. I was listening to Jared Day yesterday, try to dismiss the Geneva giveaway as not Munich. Which Geneva? Oh, the Iran thing.
Yeah.
Our Iran. So obviously Joshua thinks that the Iran diplomatic stuff is not a good idea.
Right.
As not Munich, and that left my mouth agape. To dismiss Iran's geopolitical significance is insane, given how it sees the Persian Gulf through which most of our petroleum travels, as its personal lake, a latter-day
Mare Nostrum.
Mare Nostrum, our sea.
Well, because in earlier times for the Romans and that, it was our sea.
They have had designs on Bahrain and parts of the Arab Emirates for a long time. They claim that Geneva gave them the right to enrich uranium, claiming a major victory. Remember that North Korea used the NPT to confuse some kind of typo here, to confuse and obfuscate its way to the bomb. Rouhani, that's the Iranian guy, has said as much about the Iranian nuclear project in the past. And then, of course, the accounts being unfrozen, even without a signature to the deal. If this isn't Munich, then what is it? Apparently, Jared is more afraid of entangling alliances than of the real threat, as England learned in 1939 when it let Czechoslovakia fall to Hitler without a peep, only emboldening Hitler in preparation for his invasion of Poland. So Jared was saying this is not a Munich moment, and that phrase is
inappropriate,
misapplied a lot. Joshua is pushing back big time on this. Anyway, so that is what never again means, to never let unelected madmen control the debate ever again. When Obama stayed out of Syria, a la the remilitarization of the Saar and Rhineland, it only set the stage for the Munich comparisons. As a historian, Jared should have known this. Praying that Obama's missteps don't lead to World War III. Oh, wow. So that's a totally different view of geopolitics.
To put it in a funny context, but that's a read. Remember we were talking about, throwing shade?
Oh, yeah, right.
But it's like saying, "Fumph." I mean, here I'm giving you facts.
Right.
Dummy. You know?
But I mean, it does come down to a matter of opinion,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people do think that Iran is absolutely intent on bad stuff and not to be trusted.
I'm not that astute about historical things, but the point of Munich, they were scared, and they said, "Oh, give Hitler his little cookie, and he won't be." Well, we know what happened there.
It was a very bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that led me to have you spoken about? Yes. The issue of the American academics making this.
I just find that so reprehensible. I don't even know where to start.
Extraordinary. Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. It's disgusting. I mean, that is the last place that
exactly
it is. I don't even. It's just despicable. I don't even know what to say. Are you aware of this? The Kappa student? Oh, you don't like that either. Students from Kappa are helping Peduto select art.
Yeah. Well, may I opine on this? There's a show that opened in October, I believe it was, maybe in September, at the Heinz History Center.
Okay.
Of, I guess the first time there's been a museum show of Burton Morris's
Burton
art.
Morris.
And Burton Morris is the artist that you all know.
He's a sweet guy, and you recognize his work immediately, but you don't think he's a great artist.
No, what I've said is I think he's a really fine graphic designer.
And I would agree.
Yeah. Anyway, but he had a session at the show. He was in town, I guess, this week, at the Heinz History Center with a bunch of kids from Kappa talking about what it means to be an artist and his career and blah, blah, blah. And our mayor, to-be, Bill Peduto, showed up, and he is going to have one of Burton's works in his office. And this is primarily due to the fact that they were good friends at CMU. They were both at CMU at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So in this sense, and the students picked a piece which is included in said exhibition, which is up, I think, through the summer or something. So if any of you want to go and see the show, it was a piece that he did. Remember when we had that conference last
G20?
spring? No. Last fall. What the hell was it called? One Young World.
Oh, it followed up on the G20.
It was a picture of a tree, like youth and growth, and at the top where the tree branches would be, it turned into the skyline of Pittsburgh.
Cool.
Yeah. And it was nice. So anyway, that's the piece that Mr. Peduto's
that's a good one
for
his office.
Sure.
So why did you sort of sneer when this?
No, I didn't sneer. I just said I think the issue might be if you're to pick about a symbolic thing that, what does a mayor have in his office? What does the CEO have in his office to reflect his reign? You might want something that's more grounded, that is more like a Warhol.
What's more grounded than a tree?
No, but that's cute. No, but I mean, I was going to say like something like a Warhol image, and not because I was at the Warhol Museum, but someone who was world renowned as being, in that sense.
Well,
or a great, whatever. But that's
here's what we all agree.
And here was a friend of Bill's.
It makes sense. Makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Jeez, what's more grounded than a tree? A tree whose lovely breast is pressed. No. A tree whose something mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowing breast. A tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair. Poems are writ by fools like me, but only God can make a tree.
I think you should send that to Hallmark.
Caller, hi.
How you doing today?
Hey, I've never been.
I want to go back to what you were talking about real quick about that vitamin D.
Right.
I have fibromyalgia, and they found a direct link between low vitamin D and flare-ups. And I've been on like a prescription strength of it. It does work. So if anybody has that problem, usually good doctors will see that in your blood work, but that vitamin D is a link to that a lot of times. Flare-ups.
So how much do you take a day?
I just take an average amount, and I don't know what it is. I took a prescription amount for 3 months to get it back to where it should have been.
Wow. Yeah,
I was real low.
Yeah, I know. I take it too, and I think it's All I know is my endocrinologist said, take
well,
it.
Then, hey.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad it's helping you.
Yeah.
Okay, I just
All
wanted
right.
to
Thank you.
that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Bye. Bye. I think we have to take a break. Did I
Okay.
not take a second break?
No.
I did not. I have been slightly remiss. We shall do that post haste.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen live after this.
Packers.
Vikings.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
Downtown.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full.
But when we live united, we make a real difference in the building blocks of life. Children succeed in school, families gain financial stability, the health of our neighbors improves, and suddenly so do our communities. Real change won't happen without you.
Live United.
So give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Sign up today at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Download the brand new CP Haps app and find out what's going on in Pittsburgh. It's the free and fun app that puts the most popular events at your fingertips. Text events to 77948 to download now and register to win a Fender Squier electric guitar and Rocksmith for Xbox 360. The CP Haps app, brought to you by Pittsburgh City Paper.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen live at pghcitypaper.com.
When you said held the poem up to her ample bosom, which is what he just said before we started it up again, I cannot hear those two words, ample bosom,
Yes.
and not have an immediate,
Yes.
picture in my head of a very specific person who was like my first ample bosom person that I was like just blown away.
That's how you go to the shrink. I want to talk about my first ample bosom person.
It was, her name was Nina Lintz.
Nina Lintz.
She was my 7th grade teacher.
Oh, dear.
Nina Lintz. And she had one of those bosoms that started at her neck and ended at her waist.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, where you just couldn't figure. I used to try to. I was just. I was blown away by her body. And
was she a teacher who would embrace her students?
No.
Oh,
She was sort of a whatever. But she was. What I remember is her
bosom,
ample bosom, and her. But what was worse, she drew attention to it.
Oh dear!
Because she was always going in and like retrieving Kleenex and stuff.
So
and then
it was
sticking it back. It was
an artificially.
I think it was still
bosom?
huge, but it was like it was a storehouse for Kleenex, and I think it was mostly Kleenex.
I remember one of my friends who would always tell a joke about the same thing. This was in high school. Her Latin teacher, whose name I can't remember, but she too, and she, when you go to do. What do you call it? Declensions, Amo Massamana. This was in Latin, and my friend would say, hick, hick, hock, and she'd be pulling on her bra strap.
Hick, hack, hock. Well, that reminds me of another teacher of mine, Kittabel O'Donnell.
Oh, my God.
Who looked exactly...
Now, she should be a newscaster.
Yeah, Kittabel O'Donnell, who looked exactly... She had a sister, and they both taught, and they were both maiden ladies.
Oh,
and
dear.
they, with always wear like a white shirt tied, button right up to here, and like
with
a bun.
dicky.
And she had a, she was very tall and thin, and she looked like olive oil, and she was an English teacher, and like declensions, she used to, I don't know why she did it, because she did it more than once. She would go into this cheer, essentially. I, you, he, she, it. 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 And it was like we're all roaring because it sounds like shit at the end.
Yeah, right.
I, you, he, she, it. I, you, he, she, it. Kittabel O'Donnell. God bless you.
God loves
and
Kittabel O'Donnell.
Nina Lintz. God bless these people.
Probably long dead.
They'd be
Molded
long
in the
dead.
cave.
They'd be long
Maybe
dead.
we should have a show and call up with stories of your famous, best funny stories of teachers. And it could go on for days, I'm sure.
Oh, gosh, yes. Oh,
Annabelle
absolutely.
Kittle.
and then there was, I'm remembering.
That's a Kurt Vonnegut name. It's even better than a newscaster name.
Why am I blanking on the woman? I can see her, the other teacher. This is 3rd grade. And she had that dyed black hair that is like so black.
Gypsy black hair.
Oh, it's frightening. And when Mrs. DeWitt. Mrs. DeWitt. And when Mrs. DeWitt would turn to write stuff on the board, we'd all be transfixed by the fact that she had a bald spot. Whoever knew
Which
women?
would stand
I didn't
out
know.
because
With
the
the
hair was
black.
so dark, right.
And I did not know that women could turn bald. So for a 3rd grader, that's it was frightening. But she goes down in my memory bank for doing something to me and a few other people in the class that was unforgivable. And here's what it was. In Mrs. DeWitt's 3rd grade class, there were 3 Jewish kids, which was a lot.
You said in your hometown, right?
It was me, Michael Plaus, and Judy Cahotis.
Oh, I see.
All right. So Mrs. DeWitt was in a foul mood that day, and she said to the class this: I don't know why you don't pay more attention to your homework. I don't understand why all of you can't be as good as my little Jewish students.
So, of course,
I'm sitting there like,
everyone's looking at you with daggers.
Grade. So how about 3rd grade? I knew this isn't good for the Jews.
Yeah, right.
This isn't good for the Jews. Oh, shit. And I remember catching Michael Plaus's eye, and he looked terrified.
Oh, dear.
He was thinking, how the hell are we going to walk home? We're going to get beaten up. Oh, dear God, what is she doing to us? Why you can't be more like my good little Jewish students? Jesus. The stuff that happens to you.
Oh, yeah, right.
Anyway.
Today, that could be a class action suit, couldn't it?
Right, exactly.
I mean, that's the funny side of it. It turns from stupidity and hidden or nascent anti-Semitism to everything becomes a martial law, kind of thing.
I was so used to generally not, there was, would it be 1st grade or kindergarten? I was the only Jew in this class, and we were having a mock presidential election. This was one of the times Adlai Stevenson ran against Dwight David Eisenhower, so 50 something.
Yeah. 56. Probably, yeah.
So I was maybe in, 1st grade. And we did it, the teacher wants us to vote, like our parents were going to vote. And we had a secret ballot, and you could vote for Stevenson or you could vote for Eisenhower. And then she collected the ballots, and then she toted them up on the board. And as she's toting, it was like, Eisenhower, 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 Stevenson, Eisenhower, 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 Eisenhower. When it was done, it was like 30 for Eisenhower and 1 for Stevenson. And of course, I'm sitting there thinking, jeez, I'm not saying a word. I am looking like that wasn't me. It was,
and this must be our Jewish vote.
Well, that what? No. But here's in my head how it played out. I couldn't figure it out. How come I'm the only one? And everybody voted like they knew their parents were going to vote. Exactly. So I'm thinking something's wrong with my parents. I was actually angry. So I came back home at lunch, and I sat down at the table and I said, "Mom, here's what I figured." I said, "Mom, is Adlai Stevenson Jewish?" That's the only thing I could figure. That we would vote for him because he was one of us,
Clan, right?
And I couldn't figure anything
Well, you know what's really
else.
interesting to me about that is that I would be surprised that first grade students, unless they came from incredibly literate families, etc., which I know your family was, would even know, A, there was an election, and B, what their parents were going to vote for.
But we did.
Well, but the whole 30 in the class, I believe, was shocked at that.
Really?
Oh, yeah, today?
Well, maybe not today, but then,
Well,
back
maybe,
then it was
maybe.
Ozzie and Harrietville and we
Well,
all...
no. I'm not saying the point of why they would have voted for ICE. I'm
No,
saying
that
that
they
the
would
kids
know.
would know.
Well, because they heard their parents talking about it.
But I can't believe, well, I don't know, I can't
Really?
talk about Green Bay in the 50s, but I can't believe, like, today even, how many families at home would be talking about, they'd be talking about Lindsay Lohan and Miley, what's her name, Cyrus, and twerking and Obamacare, but they wouldn't be talking about who they were going to vote for.
Well...
But that is interesting, though. Oh, yes, that's
Adlai
interesting,
Stevenson.
too.
Okay, so here's this weird story about the Indian diplomat in New York, which has created unbelievable diplomatic, real trouble between the Indian government and our government.
Because before you talk about the story, the thing that everyone should know, if they don't, is that people who are here with a diplomatic passport literally can commit murder and can get off with it most of the time.
That's what I thought, and that's why I was confused about this. Because this woman, this diplomat, was arrested, handcuffed, put in
lockup,
the lockup, and all that stuff. And she said she was strip searched, cavity searched, and her crime was essentially lying to the State Department in that she had received a certain kind of visa for her, the woman who would be a nanny and a housekeeper in her, for some woman in India to be brought over here.
But also that, and it turned out she was keeping her almost in servitude.
Well, what she did in the contract, what she told the State Department is she was going to pay this woman
3 cents.
No, she was going to pay this woman a huge amount of money. It was something like $4,500 a month. That's what her affidavit.
No, that's not bad.
No, that's pretty good. And in fact, she paid the woman less than $3.31.
Okay, right. That was the part I knew.
And also took the woman's passport away, and the woman's working 900 hours a week. Yeah, so she was like a slave. That woman must have somehow called somebody and said, "Help me here. I am being
Well, there have been a
royally
number of these
but
cases.
But here's what I thought. I thought diplomatic immunity.
Immunity covered
It doesn't.
everything.
Because I was, and I don't know where I read it, and I wish I'd cut it out.
There's a lawyer out there.
No. It doesn't. Diplomatic immunity applies to anything involving the diplomat's diplomatic duty. And they said if it's a crime, a criminal crime that has nothing to do with it, they do not have immunity for that. Now, I was surprised.
I wonder if that's changed, because I know for a long time there, these cases
nobody's
where people
talking
was
about
able
it
to be, scuppered out. Like if they, maybe if they could get out before the police.
That's
nab
right,
them.
exactly right.
Maybe that's it.
That's it.
But there have been cases where they with their passport, they're
because I'll
leaving
tell
the country.
you, what about the French guy, who was head of the International Monetary
Two
Fund?
names.
Yeah. That despicable.
Henri.
No, it's just a despicable person.
With the Guatemalan chambermaid.
He got nabbed, and he would have had also diplomatic immunity.
Well,
it doesn't.
But he was only
for rape.
No. But he wasn't really a diplomat. Was he?
People with the World Bank, people with the IMF, they have the same thing, as do people at the United Nations or in diplomatic missions. But I do find it a little extraordinary
like
that a person could be taken, handcuffed by the U.S. Marshal Service like this, and then to be subjected to a strip search. And they say that's what they... Sorry? That's our regular thing. The regular intake for anybody. Well, that's what they're saying.
I mean, I've heard that it's a case of
cavity
drug selling or drug trafficking, because often they do that in body cavities. Wrap up. But I mean, that seems like someone really headed out for this woman.
Anyway, the Indians are freaking out about this, just freaking, because in India, first of all, diplomats, rich people in general, are never subjected to much of anything. They're certainly not treated like this.
No.
Even if they have murdered somebody, they're treated, So listen to what one of the Indian politicians said. He's the leader of one of their political parties. He is calling on the Indian government to expel all gay partners of U.S. diplomats.
Yeah, right. What a weird thing to choose.
Well, because India just passed this thing saying that it's criminal conduct.
So here we now have this new...
I don't know. But it turns out that this essentially holding people in servitude, literally, is what a lot of these diplomats,
well, not even diplomats,
foreign nationals, almost always from the Middle East.
Or Latin America, places where
they treat people like dirt.
No, it was very funny. I once went to see, when I worked at NYU, there was someone who called us, as this would often happen, to maybe donate a work of art to our collection. And I went to see, and this woman was terribly lovely, and they had a townhouse, and her husband was a banker or something. And I forgot what she showed me, and it wasn't something, that was appropriate, so I said, I'm sorry, no. But, charming, whatever. And I then put her on our mailing list, and she and her husband came to a couple of our art openings. And then about a year later, it turned out, because I remember the name of the house, that was one of these people. Oh, yeah, they held the passport, and this woman slept on the basement floor. Oh, it was horrible. And you think, oh, this terribly refined, elegant woman.
Isn't that something? It's just, it's
slavery.
It's a cultural difference where they still think that they're to be, you treat people like that.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Unbelievable. So anyway, that's when, and we're essentially almost kind of sort of at a time. And I stole your paper.
Oh, thank you, my darling.
And I don't know. So we're not here next week. We are here the week after that.
I won't be, but
you're not here for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I'm not here, Jess, for 1 week and a little bit.
It'll be a
little bit. I'm here tomorrow, and then I'll be back on the 2nd. And you're not back on the 2nd.
No, I'll be back the following week, the 9th. I'll be on a breve vacanza, as the Italians would say, a short vacation.
You call that short?
Well, yeah, no, I guess not.
I never go, whenever I've gone and I've spent more than a week on vacation, I'm just blown away by that people go for weeks and weeks and weeks. Because, as an American, I didn't get a lot of vacation time, and it just seemed smart to parse it out throughout
but a lot of
the
people
year
who are
rather
able to
than
do those are people who are wealth. And one last thing to end up, because I think it's really interesting. We, as a culture, as a nation, number one, as a culture, don't take vacations. And when we do, oftentimes, if we're people connected to whatever, we keep our cell phones with us and our computers.
Yeah, we work.
And we're not really. And it's interesting. In many other countries, it is mandated that you take 3 or 4 weeks, and because they feel, and it's been proven, that people relax, and they're much better at their work for the remaining 11 months than these people who get keyed up and whatever and never relax.
I know. We have no idea how overworked we are.
And it's based partly on fear, too. Ooh, if I'm away for a month... If I'm away,
someone else will take my...
That Bradley down the hall is going to take my job.
But that's right, and that's American employers have always played that game of keeping people insecure.
On their toes,
And I can't lose this job. I can't lose... I mean, the thing used to be, you can't lose this job, I'll lose my health insurance. I can't lose this, I can't...
Exactly.
And so you stay in jobs you don't like, and you work hard, and this and that. Land of the free.
And that's also the reason we don't want that scaffolding with the twinkling lights. Land of the tacky.
I want the scaffolding.
Well, what do you know?
Well, on that nasty
Rebarbative note.
That's right. The Bickersons will bid thee a fond farewell.
Fa la 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 la.
Oh, dear God in heaven. Sorry.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at PGH City Paper.
No, it's not.
What?
It said it's back to Lynn Cullen Live.
I see. Who were the Bickersons? I mean, they're...
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.